9 p.m. I just got back from eating dinner. Worked kind of late tonight. Up the club eating, the power failed. I don't know what the problem was. That's the only place it's in the dark, evidently. The BOQ is still lighted up. Everything else around. It's been a pretty quiet day here, except normal work. Went up and briefed the DM, Colonel Webster, on how I'd like to organize a MMS, and he's all in favor of it. Looks like we're going to get the go-ahead. Have to brief the wing commander Wednesday, and if he buys it, we'll be in business. The only place they have to put us right now, I guess, is right in the same building we're in, which is totally inadequate as far as space and general facilities in the building. However, they're building a new EOD building, which should be completed within 60 days or so. I think I'll put my orderly room in there, use my NCOIC of EOD for my first sergeant, and the EOD officer for admin officer additional duty. I think it'll work out all right. It's been a nice day here today, as days over here go. It's hot and humid, clear out now, almost a full moon. Almost as bright as day. Still pretty warm though for this time of the night. Unusually warm, seems like. Might cool off a little after you get a chance to shower and get all the sweat off. I mean, it's one thing you get used to is sweating all the time over here. I haven't sweated so much since we left Louisiana. I keep doing a few little things to get my room a little bit more livable. I did have my fan sitting up on top of the wall locker, and it didn't quite reach me, so I drove a nail in the wall and hung it up on it. And it's an oscillating fan, so it hits me pretty good now. I don't have any curtains for the windows at all, so I took a GI, one of those OD towels, you know, and tacked it up over one window, the one that doesn't open. And the one that does open, I keep open all the time anyway, so a curtain wouldn't help. I've also taken masking tape and stripped all the way across both windows to keep, in case we get a rocket hitting close by, concussion won't blow the glass all over me. Tape will hold it in. This towel will help too. Don't anticipate anything like that now. I think cleaned all the rockets out that they had cached away, reserved for us. One night last week they found 10 set up all about 5 miles from here, and they wiped them out. This terrain right immediately around us is kind of hard for them to hide anything in. There's no trees and very few places that they can really hide to keep the place lighted up with flares all the time at night. And of course, we're surrounded by the Army, and they keep helicopter ships up all the time with searchlights, and we got Spooky up on patrol all the time. All in all, it's I think reasonably well protected over here. Haven't had one come around us since a week ago tomorrow morning. And I think that was just their big splurge, tried to hit everything at once, you know, for Tet. Their spring offensive, or whatever they call it. That pretty well fizzled. Looks like they're trying to concentrate on the Saigon area now. I guess more of a political or psychological effect than anything else. Benoit, which is close to Saigon, has been pretty heavily hit too, and Da Nang, which is pretty vulnerable. It's sitting where they can, you know, have cover, getting up to the base. And Cameron Bay, you know, was hit during this last attack. I think it was the first time it's ever been touched. So they really went all out to try to let all the bases know they still had some capability, I guess. I think it's probably their last big splurge of the war, or at least for this phase of it. Get a letter from you today. I don't know, the mail snag. It happens sometimes, I guess. No plane coming or that particular day. But I don't sweat it for 1 or 2 days at a time, although I like to hear from you every day. Don't worry about it, though, when I don't. Copies of the Flug plots today. One's 17th of January edition, Sergeant Field sent. I think that's the same one that we already had that Stupinski sent, and he also sent 17th February edition, which we didn't have. I'll try to get them the mail and send them home. There's not much in them. The Flug plots looks like it's about petered out now with the base closing and all. Have you heard anything from Goldens or Patches? Just wondered if Patch had resumed his payments on the trailer yet. Telling you a little bit last night on the tape about trip around the Army bases yesterday. Nothing like going over there to really make you appreciate this place. There's not a blade of green grass on any of them, and no paved roads. Their BOQs are just shacks. Have a bathroom or bathhouse set up between about 4 BOQ buildings. Nothing inside, no inside plumbing at all in the BOQs proper. We don't have in the room, of course, or no bath connecting 2 rooms. We've got 1 latrine for the whole building, but there's only, let's see, 22 rooms, I guess, in the building, 11 on each side. They're not plush, but like I say, after seeing the Army, they sure seem plush. Brick wall I have around the building, to protect from blast and fragments from a rocket or mortar attack. Did have 2 openings in it, 1 at each end of the building for you to come in. Now they're putting another wall out at the end of the building, just leaving you enough room, to zigzag and get in to protect that one vulnerable area. That's where the rocket hit in the other by the other BOQ. And if it had that up, it probably wouldn't done near the damage to the building it did. And this Major Baker I was telling you about that was ran outside when the first one hit and got caught. They say he's going to live. I'd heard that he had died, but he didn't, and he's going to pull through. Get my letter yet that had the hunks of shrapnel in it? Those were some I picked up from that rocket that hit up there. These were, it bounced off of this wall down by our BOQ, so see how effective that is. It's a lot of protection. It's about 4 bricks, no more than that. It must be at least 6 bricks thick. About 14 to 18 inches thick, I guess, and runs up 4.5 feet high at least. So it's for anything except a direct hit inside that wall, gives you all the protection you need. And I feel more secure in here than I do out running for a bunker. Time we get outside at night, during hours of darkness, we wear a helmet, flak suit, carry a 38 and an M16 with ammo. It's just a safety precaution, not that they expect anything, but it's a whole lot better to carry it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Whole page in today's Stars and Stripes about Pleiku and the A-1 aircraft they're flying from here. I'll cut it out and send it to you. It's quite an interesting article. These A-1s are the old Navy Sky Raiders built right after World War II, around 51, 52, that vintage. It's a pretty good old bird, though, for this type of operation. Squadron, it's the 6th Special Operations Squadron, the SPADs, S-P-A-D-S, and they use a SPAD, picture of a SPAD for their emblem and all. I'll turn on the news now at 10 o'clock so you can get another idea of what kind of news broadcast we get over here.
I'm Army Specialist Gary W. The sound of the news compiled from Commercial and Military News Agency this day before 5 this morning, 3 Russian-made 122mm rockets hit downtown Saigon. 2 rounds hit in the 1st precinct and the other in the 4th. The attack killed 12 Vietnamese civilians and wounded 23 others. A South Vietnamese soldier was also injured. The rocket that hit in the 4th precinct caused most of the civilian casualties. It also started the fire that destroyed 31 homes. Another round hit near a hospital, causing an unreported amount of damage to that building. 3 small children were injured by flying glass. It was the 3rd such attack on Saigon during the enemy's post-Tet offensive. The U.S. command says about 30 other civilian-populated areas at Allied positions were shelled by enemy gunners last night and early this morning. One significant ground battle broke out in northern I-Corps. Officials say an unknown-sized enemy force launched a ground attack on a Marine fire support base just below the demilitarized zone. The fight broke out about 3 this morning and at 10 o'clock was still going on. Initial reports show that 17 NVA were killed. Marine losses are reported as being light. Arvin soldiers saw scattered to moderate action in the Republic yesterday, as we hear in this report.
In the 24-hour period, which ended at 6 o'clock this morning, South Vietnamese forces carried out 52 offensive operations of battalion size or larger, while 32 enemy-initiated incidents were reported. In the 4th Corps Tactical Zone, an infantry battalion of the Arvin 21st Division killed 16 enemy soldiers and seized a weapons cache in Kinyang Province. Among the weapons seized were 220 Chinese Communist K-54 automatic pistols. 1 Arvin soldier was killed and another was wounded in the action. Elsewhere in 4 Corps, an RF company killed 16 enemy soldiers in Phong Dinh Province at a cost of a single RF soldier killed. In Kinyang Province, a provincial reconnaissance company killed 8 enemy soldiers when hell lifted into an area 130 miles southwest of Saigon. There were no PRU casualties. In the 1st Corps Tactical Zone, an Arvin infantry battalion engaged an enemy force 6 miles south of Da Nang. With the support of artillery and tactical air, 42 enemy soldiers were killed at a cost of light Arvin casualties.
In ground fighting yesterday, U.S. Marines killed 34 enemy in 2 battles near Da Nang. Total U.S. losses in the engagement were 1 killed and 32 wounded. In the Central Highlands, an Army OH-6 helicopter directed airstrikes and gunships onto that enemy supply complex. 1 truck was destroyed, along with an unreported number of 122mm rockets. The action took place west of Kontum City near the Cambodian border. U.S. naval warships saw scattered action yesterday, as we hear in this report now from Navy journalist George Webb.
Firing in support of the Republic of Korea Tiger Division, the destroyer Duncan shelled enemy positions just north of the port city of Quy Nhon, touching off 2 secondary explosions and starting several small fires. An aerial observer also credited Duncan with 11 structures destroyed or heavily damaged, 9 bunkers destroyed, 1 cave partially sealed, 150 meters of trail and suspected Viet Cong storage area neutralized, and several residual fires ignited. In 4 Corps, the Richard S. Edwards shelled suspected enemy positions 20 miles southeast of Phu Ven and Ben Bien Province. In other action, the destroyer Lynn McCormick damaged 77 meters of trench line and 3 bunkers in a mission 50 miles northwest of Quy Nhon. Navy journalist George Webb, 7th Fleet Information, Saigon.
Since yesterday afternoon, Air Force B-52s flew 7 missions in the provinces surrounding Saigon. Since the offensive began, there have been about 70 missions in 3 Corps. The closest yesterday was 28 miles east of the capital city. 3 U.S. Navymen were wounded this morning when an enemy rocket grenade slammed into their mine-sweeping boat on the Valcom Jong River, 17 miles northwest of Saigon. Navy journalist Chan Cochran has this report on that incident.
The minesweeper was serving as part of a security perimeter around the Western Eagle, a civilian dredge, when the attack began. The dredge took 5 rocket grenade hits, killing 1 U.S. soldier on board. Damage to both craft was reported as light. This is Navy journalist Chan Cochran, U.S. Naval Forces Headquarters, Saigon.
And that's the latest concerning Vietnam making news at this hour. Under the blaze of spotlights, the gantry holding Apollo 9 glistens. The countdown is underway now for the spectacular space flight to blast off this evening. Tons of fuel are gurgling into the giant rocket that will carry the...
Well, I guess you've got the rest of this news back there. I just didn't know how much of the Vietnamese coverage you're giving you, but... So I'll turn off now. It's noon on Tuesday, and the 4th, I guess it is. Just got your letter today that you wrote last Thursday. It's a day later than normal. I just ran by the BOQ for a minute to catch the news before I go back out to work. Just finished eating lunch. Had roast beef, mashed potatoes, pretty good lunch. I'll record the news for you here again, see what's happening locally.
More than 20 Allied military positions in South Vietnamese cities last night and early this morning. Among the targets were the huge complex at Cam Ranh Bay and the Newport Bridge northeast of Saigon. Military officials say that 5 mortar rounds hit near the bridge, but caused no damage or casualties. About 30 mortar and rocket rounds impacted at Cam Ranh Bay. Damage and casualties are said to be light. One ground attack was reported, but initial reports indicate the fighting was not significant. Yesterday, U.S. Marines found another large enemy weapons cache north of the Ashau Valley during Operation Dewey Canyon. It's the 4th cache the Marines have captured in the last 5 days. The total amount of war material exceeds 350 tons. The Marines also killed 11 enemy in one engagement north of the valley yesterday. U.S. losses, 1 killed, 1 wounded. Additional information was released this morning about that ground attack at a Marine fire support base just south of the DMZ yesterday. Spokesmen say 13 Marines at the base were killed and 22 others received wounds. Enemy losses were 20 killed. Another action yesterday, elements of the Army's 1st Cav Division killed 10 enemy and destroyed a truck in fighting south of An Lac, about 55 miles north of Saigon. Troopers from the division found the bodies of 11 more enemy about 75 miles north of the capital. Spokesmen say the communists were killed Saturday or Sunday, and that's the latest in the Vietnam War at this hour. The communists today in Paris broke their...
It's 8 o'clock Tuesday night now, the 4th of March. Just got back from supper. It's been a real windy day today. The wind's been higher than I've seen since I've been here, blowing right out of the east like always. And it's just like New Mexico, the dust, red dust blowing all over everything. I've never had so much on me, I don't believe, since I've been over here. I was out walking over the storage area most of the day and crawling over the barricades, and they're just red dirt too, you know, and you sink in up to your knees almost. No grass on them, it just won't grow there in this dry weather. It must blow in from somewhere. They've been worse the last 2 nights. I got some spray at Supply and sprayed last night and kept them down pretty well, but night before last they just nearly ate me up. They have a lot of malaria over here, but they give you, we take a pill every Monday that prevents it, you know. You have to take it once a week all the time you're over here, and then for 8 weeks after you get home, they give you a supply to take back with you. I haven't had any cases of malaria on the base I know of, because everybody takes the pills, but had quite a few Army troops, Marines out in the jungle all the time to get in. Asked me about the name of the store where I ordered the hat coat rack. It's the, I believe, Conway Bookstore. It's where we got Larry's and Pat's books, right there on Front Street. I believe it's near the shoe store. Larry and Pat ought to remember where it is. They didn't have any in stock, and just had catalogs, and you show them the kind you want, and you ordered it. So if you get a chance, might drop back down there and ask them what happened to it. If you forgot to order it, maybe you can get another order in. Army hauls all of her bombs and all the munitions in for us, you know, on big trucks. Today they got a big shipment in, I guess off a cargo ship that landed over at Cam Ranh Bay. And brought in 25, 30 big, long flatbed truckloads of bombs and rockets and flares and all that. But anyway, when they parked one of the trailers there in the storage area, they have the big jacks that run down the front of it, you know, to hold up the end of it. Then they pulled a tractor out from under it. Anyway, the jacks collapsed and the thing just crunched over on, kind of twisted and fell on more to one side. It did, you know, didn't just fall, the end of it didn't fall straight down. One side tilted over. But none of the rocket boxes fell off. They were all banded down, of course. But one band broke and had one pallet full of them just kind of hanging. So I called Army Transportation up. They live not far from the base here, so the colonel came over and looked at it, and he said, yeah, his driver was to blame for it because he didn't get the jacks down far enough. When he pulled out from under it, then he pulled it a little on the jacks, just enough to bend them and throw the center of gravity off, and it sheared all the bolts off of the jacks and twisted them and broke them. Said it cost the kid about $240 to buy new jacks for him. But there wouldn't been any danger if the rockets had fallen off, but you know that if you drop them over 5 feet, you have to reject them. We have near enough space in our storage area here to store all the stuff we need. We'll have to keep a 45-day level, which comes to about neighborhood of 3 million, no, not that much, about 2 million pounds of high explosive, you know. So the Army gave us part of their area. It's about 9 miles off base, so we store overflow out there, the hard bombs. We don't store any of the rockets or napalm or anything like that there. They get to find out about the test, the college entrance test. We saw advertised in the paper that they canceled because of the snow. And then they have, I guess his regular testing is when, in April? I forget what they call it, but some kind of test he's going to take. They're still doing good in school. I'm going to work hard now, so you can have a summer off without having to go to summer school. Pat still planning on going to Canada, and Larry? Send them to Canada, and the other two to relatives and come on over to Hawaii. To shut down and go take a shower. I think it's so hot and sticky that I can't stand myself. I'll try to wind this up in the morning and get it in the mail to you. And I hope you can dig those others out somewhere. If you can't, you can, I guess, use one of these others I've sent over to you and just record on the other side. And well, it won't work out either, though. I could send you a blank if you want me to. I've got enough here to keep me in business for a while. Let me know if you want some blanks, and if you haven't found the others. I don't know whether we've got any blank reel tape. I doubt it, but pick you up one big long one, and if you want to record these cassettes, you get several of them on one tape. Hope all the stereo equipment came through in good shape, and you got it set up. Where are you going to put it? If you have the news here.
Good evening, I'm Army Specialist David Kiefer with 5 minutes of news compiled from commercial and military news agencies. Latest word from the Space Center Mission Control is that all's going well aboard Apollo 9. Astronauts James McDivitt, David Scott, and Russell Schweikert linked their command ship with the Spider-like lunar landing craft early this morning on the first day of orbiting the Earth. Docking was described as beautiful. The Communist Chinese say tens of millions of citizens staged anti-Russian protests today. The protests followed the border clash, which resulted in fatal casualties Sunday to both sides. The Russians say the Chinese were the aggressors. The Chinese reaction was the biggest against Russia in more than 2 years. The Communists and the Allies in Paris are stiffening their attitudes at the peace talks. American and South Vietnamese negotiators are preparing firm protests against the Viet Cong offensive. One big point, apparently, is the Communist shelling of the civilian centers in South Vietnam. But the Communists charge President Nixon is following a policy of force in Vietnam, and they add that he has ordered an increase of U.S. air raids. Here in Vietnam, American bombers blasted 10 enemy tanks spotted near the Cambodian border in Tu Quoc early this morning. 2 of the tanks were destroyed. They're reported to be Russian PT-76 types, first used in World War II. It's the first time the enemy's used tanks in the Republic in over a year, and it's the first time Communist tanks have ever been observed in the Central Highlands. It appears that former Foreign Minister Golda Meir may be Israel's next premier. She won a 40-0 endorsement today of the ruling Labor Party's Executive Council.
However, Defense Minister Moshe Dayan and 6 of his supporters abstained. Dayan may challenge the 70-year-old former U.S. school teacher. The United States has protested to Iraq against reported plans to execute another group of alleged spies. A spokesman says the State Department will be in touch with the United Nations. Israel announced this weekend that Iraq was preparing to execute a third group of alleged Israeli agents, including 3 Jews. Similar reports circulated earlier at the UN. President Nixon holds an hour-long news conference tomorrow before microphones and television cameras. It begins at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Nixon will limit questions to international affairs, including the U.S. response to the communist offensive in Vietnam. President Nixon sent legislation to Congress today designed to set up health and safety standards for coal mines. The president also announced a new program of grants to help states develop their own mine programs. Under the new bill, mining companies could be fined up to $10,000 for each violation of safety or health regulations. The federal government began its pilot free food stamp program in South Carolina today, but the turnout was small. Officials blamed the showing on a lack of communication and said that most of those eligible will show up eventually. The program was initiated after the disclosure of widespread hunger in certain parts of the state. The program gives free food stamps redeemable in grocery stores to those earning less than $30 a month. At his trial today, Sirhan calmly said that he killed Senator Robert Kennedy, but was not aware of shooting others. The defense said Sirhan did not remember shooting Kennedy either. Sirhan also admitted writing in his notebooks, "Robert Kennedy must be assassinated." New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison, 2 years ago, last Saturday, charged Clay Shaw with conspiracy. Last Saturday, a jury said Shaw had nothing to do with the assassination of President John Kennedy. Today, Garrison again charged Shaw, this time with perjury, accusing him of lying during the trial on the conspiracy charges. Shaw called the newest accusation outrageous. A group of independent Democrats has spoken up for the rights of student dissidents in a statement issued today in Washington. The new Democratic coalition called for a halt to all federal investigations involving the political beliefs and affiliations of demonstrators. The coalition is composed primarily of supporters of Senator Eugene McCarthy and the late Robert Kennedy. Another leak has spurted oil into the Santa Barbara Channel. The Coast Guard reports the new slick has moved about 1 mile from the shore, where beaches already are smeared with oil from a well blowout that began January 28th. I'm Army Specialist David Kiefer, and that's news compiled from commercial and military news agencies on March 4th, 1969.
From Saigon, ladies and gentlemen, the beat goes on.
Well, these T-4 tanks he was talking about hit an Army gun emplacement and small airfield at Khartoum, which is about 30 to 40 miles north of here. It's in the 2-corps area, which we're in. And one of our spooky birds from here knocked out one of the tanks with his miniguns. He sprayed him down enough, I reckon he blew him up. Several secondary explosions from it. He had got within about 100 meters of the little Army airstrip up there before they finally got him stopped. And I don't know what they're up to with tanks up in that area. They're very vulnerable. I mean, this terrain around here is just wide open, at least here. I don't know how it is at Khartoum. You could see one coming for miles, just like south there in the Algerian desert during World War II, you know. And this morning they said they'd picked up 40 or 50 UFOs on radar last night in the local area. They sent out helicopters and A-1s and C-47s and everything else looking for them. Couldn't find any contacts, but I don't know what it is unless the Kong's using helicopters and managing to go down these valleys and hide somewhere. But unless they're bringing up troops with them, they just don't know. It's one of those weird things. maybe nothing, because I couldn't see any sign. He used searchlights on the helicopters and dropped flares. Did everything in the world to see absolutely nothing. Well, I better go get my shower in, and I'll get this mail in the morning then. Good night. Love you.